Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which 1 is 2 and 2 isn't 3, but apparently there's not 2, there is many. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon. Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. It is Thursday once again. Oh, long week, lots of busy stuff to do, things to see, people to talk to, and all that good stuff. But here we are once again together to revel in the excitement that is TED Excellence. Hope you're all doing well this evening. Before I get into the little card on the screen there, who's joining me for this adventure into genderism or something? Joshua Montgomery, hello. Sarah Chapman, hello. JMK, hello. Jaeger Pony, hello. Zeke Weiss, hello. Let's see, who else is here? Oh, then chat jumped because of course it did. The Magister, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Let me post that while I'm thinking about it. There we go. Who else is here? Roger Reynolds, hello. Evil One, hello. Shio Gorath, hello. Robert Pincus, hello. Resolute Germ, hello. Texas Attorney General Secret Agent, hello. Gen T Maxi, hello. Hello. And to anybody I missed, or to anybody coming in late, or anybody in the future, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Yes, so today, our subject is loosening your grip on the gender binary, and our presenter is a doctor. But of course, what do I always say when I hear that someone is a doctor? My first question is, doctor of what? And fortunately, this particular TEDx event had profiles of all the speakers. And our speaker today is Dr. Courtney Wells. And what is Dr. Courtney Wells a doctor of? Well, Dr. Courtney Wells is a psychologist and a pivoting expert. Not sure what that means. Dr. Courtney Wells received their BS in psychology at John Carroll University, their MA in community counseling at John Carroll University, and their PhD in counseling psychology at Texas Women's University. Okay? They completed their pre-doctoral internship at the Dallas Veterans Affairs and their postdoctoral fellowship at the Jesse Brown Veterans Affairs, specializing in post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic pain, and substance use. Courtney was also the creator and the director of the trauma program at one of the largest partial hospitalization and outpatient programs in Chicago. Partial hospitalization. Okay, well anyway, I just wanted to make sure that we all knew the bona fides of our speaker ahead of the show. Let me get the actual video up here. There we go. Perfect. I wasn't sure if that would work, switching the screens like I did, but there you go. So there's that. A couple extra notes. First and foremost, if you'll direct your attention to the top of the chat box for the GoFundMes, thank you, Keeverdam, to our friend Shady Grin, Angry Illinoisian, and his kitten. If you have a couple of bucks to spare for them, their friends and families, they would certainly appreciate it. Also, I have put up a poll that you may find there in the chat box. I am considering, and the operative term here is considering, starting channel memberships. I was watching a stream from Pop Culture Minefield the other day, and I saw some channel members popping in and commenting, and I thought, do I wanna? Would anybody care? Does it matter? I don't know. I'm completely on the fence, so I thought I'd ask you. If you'd be interested in such a thing, there you go. If not, no worries. Not that big a deal. What are the benefits of a channel membership? Well, apparently I can assign special badges to your tenure as a member on the channel, and also special emojis. I'm thinking Moonbase and or Dogcat Fox type things. I'd have to have them custom made though, because I want them to be unique. But anyway, just something I'm thinking about. We'll see, one way or the other. Thank you, Keeverdam. Off topic, Nick Ricada got banned from YouTube yesterday. I saw that. I saw his channel got completely zapped. I hope that is reversed soon. That seems entirely unfair. Of course, not knowing exactly the circumstances behind why they did it, although I've read several theories. But apparently he's over on Rumble, and he's doing pretty well over there, so best of luck to him, and thank you again, Keeverdam. But anyway, All that being said, today's bingo card is bingo card C. That was the result of the poll I put up on Twitter earlier today, but it was a tie decision between A and C, and so I flipped a coin, and C was the winner, so bingo card C. C is in consolation prize. There you go. But with all that as preamble, let's get into it. This talk runs just over 15 minutes. The sound quality is a bit interesting, because at first it is so clear and crisp given the environment the talk is taking place in. It sounds like it's dubbed over in a way, but I guess they just had really high quality microphones or something. So I don't know, it's very well done as far as the sound is concerned. So, but anyway, all that being said, loosening your grip on the gender binary. Yes, apparently there's something more than the biological reality of male and female. What might that be? I don't know. Let's have Dr. Wells tell us. And also Flair Fritz, hello. Fucking Kunt, hello. Janie Melquist, hello. Anybody else I missed? Not that I'm seeing. Shell D, did I already say hello? If I didn't, hello. Ebony Williams, hello. All right, so here we go, guys. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed. You guys hear the applause there and the cheering and such? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, this took place at Wrigleyville, or Wrigley Field, I assume. I think this was posted to their YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago. But it's relatively new. 5x5 says JMK. Preemptive heat. Hi, I'm here to learn and then unlearn. Well, aren't we all? So let us unlearn together with... Oh, they don't even give her a doctor on here. Okay, Courtney Wells.
All right. Hi, folks. So right out the gate, I'm going to ask you for something.
You're going to ask me for something? Oh, man. Always wanting, always wanting. Okay. What do you want?
I'm going to ask you to remember a set of numbers. Now, it's not going to make any sense right now, and that's okay. It doesn't have to.
Ooh, is this like a magic trick? I did this thing when David Copperfield had a TV special one time, and you had to, like, pick a symbol on the screen and make sure you marked it, and then he did, like, a thing, and he eventually found your symbol, even though he was on the other side of the television? Or what?
I just want you to recall them.
Okay.
And it is kind of important. So,
okay.
The numbers are 1, 2,
2,
and 3.
And 3. Okay. I 1, 2, and 3. You guys got that? Everybody have that in their heads? Okay. 1, 2, and 3.
Do not write them down. Only use your minds to remember them.
Okay.
All right. Onward.
Okay.
So I want to talk to you about gender. But before we just jump right in, it's important for us to have a shared understanding of a few things.
Okay, shared understanding. Let's see. I want something to be remembered, because I haven't seen this, obviously, but I have a feeling. I'm going to do my Karnak impression for a second. And if you understand the reference to Karnak, you're old. Anyway, my Karnak impression is that at some point during the course of this talk, we will hear the phrase, I'm just guessing, assigned at birth. Or possibly a slight variant thereof. So just keep that in mind. Hold that in your head, along with 1, 2, and 3.
And one of those things is the differences between the way the words sex and gender are used.
Okay. Well, for our own relative edification, what are the dictionary definitions of sex and gender? Let's find out. All right, so the definition of sex in the dictionary, let's see. Either of the two main categories, male and female, into which humans and most other living things are divided on the basis of their reproductive functions. Okay, so it's the division between the two genders, as far as sex is concerned. All right, and then gender dictionary definition. Either of the two sexes, male and female, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. The term is also used more broadly to denote a range of identities that do not correspond to established ideas of male and female. It seems like a more modern definition of gender, but Okay. That's what the current Oxford Dictionary has to say about it. Thank you, Chicago Mike. 1 is the loneliest number since the number 1. 2 can be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since the number 1. Thank you, Chicago Mike. All right, so yeah, sex and gender.
So in the U.S., when we talk about sex, we're using that word to describe the biological sex someone is assigned at birth.
Oh! Yes! Yes! Within the first minute. Oh, yes! I am a prophet. And that's with a PH and not an F. But anyway, before we get too deep into this, let's go over the bingo card real quick and remind ourselves what we are listening for. Plays victim, leaves out vital context, weightless example, anecdote that probably never happened, benevolent condescension, self-vilification or wretchedness, feminism, childhood or family anecdote, privilege, sales pitch for product or service, microaggressions or unconscious bias, patriarchy, wage gap, mind reading assumes motives, attempt to coin new buzzword or buzzphrase, word salad, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or inclusion, I should say, marginalized, marginalization, contradicts own point or argument. I don't know. We don't know what the argument is yet. Systemic or institutional, a list, not yet. White supremacy, argumentative non sequitur, and collectivizes own demographic. So that's what we're keeping our ears open for. Okay.
Now you might think that's a weird way to say that.
It is decidedly a weird way to say it, because that's not how reality works, but yeah.
Assigned at birth?
Yeah, it is interesting you bring that up. Would you care to explain?
But it's actually exactly what we do.
No, it is not. It is not. Okay? If there's any confusion at the time of birth, then it is probably a genetic defect or deformity. Now, of course, people go, oh, you can't say that. People aren't defective. Like, okay. If you can't distinguish between a biological reality and a judgment assessment of someone, that's your problem. But anyway, no. So we're not even a minute into this, and you're already on the opposite side of reality. Okay.
When a child is born, the physician in the room visually assesses genitalia and assigns sex.
No. The child is either one sex or the other. That is the long and the short. It's not assess. It is a fact.
Male or female. When we're talking about gender, we're including both gender identity, which is how someone experiences their gender, and gender expression, which is how someone presents their gender.
So you want to distinguish between a biological reality and an aesthetic or a feeling. Okay, so you're redefining these words. So sex is an arbitrary assignment, let's say, and gender is a self-chosen appearance or feeling. Okay.
So historically, sex has been discussed from more of a biological perspective.
Yes, it has. Do you have any idea why that might be?
And gender from more of a social or cultural perspective.
Insofar as gender expression is concerned, yes, different things in different cultures are considered either feminine or masculine, and those things can vary culture to culture, place to place. It's true. Yes, that is true.
Right, so like in the US, we have certain behaviors, characteristics that are described as more masculine or more feminine. Right, so think the person grilling versus the person setting the table.
I set the table every night at my house, well, when it was my turn. And admittedly, I don't grill. I don't own a barbecue, but okay.
So for some people, these two things match. The sex they're assigned at birth aligns with how they experience and express their gender. That is what it means to be cisgender.
Yeah, where did cis come from? Who defined that term or helped popularize it, by the way? You might want to look that up. I'm not going to go into it here, but yeah, think about it.
For many other people, there's varying degrees of incongruence between the sex they're assigned at birth and their gender identity and expression.
Okay, every time you say assigned at birth, you pretty much invalidate anything you have to say after that point. Because that's not how it works. If you're going to deny biological reality and say it doesn't matter, doesn't exist, it's just some decision some doctor makes with it. I mean, as we know, every maternity ward in America, all right, is equipped with a dartboard that has both pink and blue spaces on it. And when a baby is born, no matter who's having the baby, at the time the baby is born, the doctor picks up a dart, closes his eyes, throws it at the board, and that's what tells him what to put down on the birth certificate. Right? I mean, might as well, right?
So for some, the sex they're assigned at birth aligns with how they experience their gender, but not necessarily how they present their gender. And for other people, there's an even greater degree of incongruence between the sex they're assigned at birth and their gender identity.
You know, just the more times you say it doesn't make it any more real. I mean, maybe repetition will like drill it into your own sense of reality, but it doesn't make it true. Okay. How you decide to carry yourself, dress, present yourself, whatever in the course of your life, hopefully that is mostly up to you, especially in this country. Can't say the same in many other countries. That does not change biological reality. Okay?
That's what it means to be transgender.
No. Wait, what? Wait, what?
At birth and their gender identity. That's what it means to be trans.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I wait. Okay. Let's stop. Back up. Try that again.
Of incongruence between the sex they're assigned at birth and their gender identity and expression. So for some, the sex they're assigned at birth aligns with how they experience their gender, but not necessarily how they present their gender. And for other people, there's an even greater degree of incongruence between the sex they're assigned at birth and their gender identity. That's what it means to be transgender.
Okay. Gender dysphoria, actual gender dysphoria, okay, is an acknowledged phenomenon, mental condition. Okay. But that, you are watering down the definition, as far as I understand it. If I'm completely off base, by all means, in the chat, in the comments, in the future, etc., let me know. But I think you're simplifying or broadening the definition of transgender here. I could be wrong, but that's what it sure sounds like to me. Sounds like this is a redefinition of reality session.
And there are even many more experiences in between. I know, it's complicated. And this is just the opener, so you're welcome.
Yeah, it's complicated, all right. Because you keep changing the rules of reality for your own purposes, seemingly.
Needless to say, before we go any further, one thing I want to make sure I teach you in this talk is how to get out of quicksand.
How to get out of quicksand? Is this Indiana Jones school?
Now, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but quicksand is actually a huge problem here in Chicago. In fact, I nearly fell in some right before this talk. And when you fall into quicksand, the normal, natural thing to do is to fight and struggle against that quicksand.
Oh, right. A place of discomfort. Getting defensive. That's bad. Is that what you mean?
But what do we know about that approach?
What do we know about that approach with quicksand? Okay, so discussions on gender or quicksand?
Sinks you faster. The way out of quicksand is actually pretty counterintuitive.
Oh, is it to just simply submit without question? Is that it?
Which is why I'm going to teach it to you in the event that you find yourself in quicksand.
Okay.
You actually make a giant starfish with your body. You lean back. You make as much contact with the surface area of that quicksand as possible, which will allow your body to rise to the surface, and then you roll out. Wild, though, right? But the way out of quicksand is actually to make more contact with the quicksand.
Okay.
And at this point, you might be thinking, oh, why are you talking to us about quicksand? I thought this talk was on gender.
Oh, I can't possibly figure out what the analogy is meant to be.
And it is. But along this journey together, you might find yourself pulled into some quicksandy traps of discomfort. And if that happens, I just want you to remember your training, that even if you feel pulled to fight and struggle against that discomfort.
Yeah, don't question. Don't think critically. Just lean back and just let it all in. Don't fight. Don't fight. Just let it happen. Jesus.
That quicksand. See if you can just lean in. Dare I say, make more contact with that discomfort.
Okay, now you're starting to get into creepy territory.
Which brings us to our first potential quicksand trap.
Okay.
Sex is not as simple as we've been taught.
Oh, our first trap sounds like the beginning of a list. I'm going to circle a list. I know, I might be a little preemptory on that, but we haven't had a circle yet. And I'm kind of weirded out by that.
Much of what we've been told, much of the messaging that is out there, is that there are two distinct and permanent sexes.
Okay. What is the third biological sex? I am ready to be educated.
Male, born with XY chromosomes, a penis and testes, and female, born with XX chromosomes, a vagina and ovaries.
Yes, those are the two biological sexes. What is the third biological sex?
What if I told you that about 2% of fish, or 500 species of fish, actually have the ability to change their sex?
You mean go from one sex to the other sex? You mean moving from one to the two? You mean moving between a binary? Yeah, I can believe it.
That for many fish, sex is not static.
Are we fish? Are you a fish? And again, doesn't that simply indicate a gender binary?
Given any set of environmental needs or factors, many fish can change sex often from female to male, and some can even change back.
You mean they move between the binary as part of their evolutionary reproductive abilities? Yeah. You're gonna have to. You've got an uphill battle here before I circle weightless example, at the very least on this one, because we are not fish. I don't know if you know that.
So you might be thinking, yeah, but we aren't fish.
No, you are right. I was thinking that. Boy, you know what? Mind reading assumes motives. It doesn't necessarily have to be mind reading that's incorrect. But hey, there you go.
Fair. So let's talk mammals.
And I'm circling weightless example. If it's fair, we aren't fish, why bring it up? Okay, so on the board so far we have, and I'm going to circle free space just for the heck of it. Weightless example, free space, mind reading assumes motives, and a list.
Some mammals, like the female elephant and the female spotted hyena, have anatomy that is actually indiscernible from their male counterparts when not aroused.
We are not elephants or hyenas. You're not furthering your argument here.
This anatomy is called the penile clitoris, which is basically an enlarged clitoris that mirrors a penis.
So, sexual organs of an entirely different species are different than humans, you say? Golly gee whiz. Uh-huh.
This mirroring can be in aesthetics, but it can also be in function.
Uh-huh.
So the female spotted hyena, for example, urinates, engages in sex, and gives birth through the penile clitoris.
Uh-huh.
I know. You don't even have to tell me you also aren't elephants or hyenas.
You're right. You're right. You're going to bring up intersex, aren't you? You're going to bring up intersex. I have a feeling. I just have this feeling in my head. You're going to bring up intersex. You're going to bring up a genetic anomaly, okay, which could be, I forget if it's called chimerism or mosaicism, something like that, where different elements of your genetic structure or cell structure reflect both male and female elements depending. However, in most cases, you have to do a very specific genetic test to even detect that, because oftentimes any differences between the genders that may exist deep within your mitochondria aren't actually physically reflected in your body. You could go your entire life as a man and have no idea that you have mixture female DNA and such within your cells and the things. So please do not tell me that you consider intersex a third functioning biological gender.
So what if I told you that out of the 140 million babies born last year, at least 280,000 of them were born with genitalia that couldn't be clearly and easily classified as either penis or labia?
I would believe it. That does not indicate a third biological sex.
You might say, well, it's a pretty rare statistic there, Court. Fine.
Well, I don't know if it's that rare. I've heard things like it before, but what does that have to do with disproving there are two biological sexes?
If we expand that to include differences of sexual development beyond just ambiguous genitalia, including atypical chromosomes, atypical hormones, atypical gonads.
Neither of those things indicate anything other than two biological sexes. All they indicate is a developmental defect. That's all it is. You know, if someone is born with one arm, are they a different kind of human? I mean, you might as well make that same argument, that they are a different species because their arm is gone. They've only got one arm. Or if they're born with 3 legs, are they a new species of human? No. They're a human with a birth defect. They had a developmental issue in the womb in some way, shape, or form. Right? So having underdeveloped or ambiguous genitalia does not make you a third biological sex.
Research proposes that range is actually 0.5% to 1.7% of births. That's the equivalent of redheads born in the world.
Are redheads a different species? Okay, I'll take that one back. I mean, they kind of are.
And this sex binary makes things really difficult.
No,
so
it doesn't.
take Maria Jose Martinez Patino, for example.
I'm sure we'll find out who that is in a moment. But before we get to that, thank you again, Keeverdam. There are also calico and tortoiseshell cats that are male, most being sterile, but that doesn't change the fact that over 99% of them are female. Yeah. An anomaly does not indicate necessarily a trend. Right? Or it's the old phrase, the exception that proves the rule. Okay, so there's a specific lady you want us to think about. Let's go back to this again.
Sex binary makes things really difficult.
No, it doesn't.
So take Maria Jose Martinez Patino, for example.
Okay.
She was assigned female at birth.
So she was born a female, you mean?
And was born with a DSD, which she didn't find out about until later in life when she attempted to compete in the 1985 Olympics.
DSD? I'm not being facetious. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that means. What's a DSD? Anybody know? Off the top of their heads? I don't know.
They had her blood tested and found that she actually had XY chromosomes and later discovered undescended testes.
She had XY chromosomes, like only XY chromosomes, or she had like XXY? Okay.
but her body was actually resistant to the testosterone produced by the undescended testes. So her overall level of testosterone was actually lower than individuals assigned female at birth without a DSD.
What is a DSD? Smudge, thank you. Disorders of sexual development. Okay, so you admit that she had a disorder of sexual development, but she didn't? But she did. Does she represent a third biological sex? What?
She wasn't allowed to compete in the 1985 Olympics nonetheless. All right. That's chromosomes, it's anatomy. Surely we can see differences in the brain.
What? Where? Okay, I'm lost. I am lost as to where she's going with this.
I know. It's tough. That messaging about sex differences is just so deeply rooted.
Yeah, you'd almost say it's like foundationary to the majority of our natural world. I don't know why that might be. It's not like we don't observe it in nearly every other living species on the planet, or can make distinctions between the two, even in those species that are a little off, like you said. Fish move between one or the other. Why is it so deeply rooted? Why does everything you're saying sound like a really, really, really weak attempt to argue against observable reality?
But in reality, our brains are no more sexed or gendered than our livers.
Okay. So there are no developmental differences between the male and the female brains. Your average male brain and your average female brain are exactly the same. I mean, all things considered. And I'm not being facetious or I don't know. Off the top of my head, no pun intended, I don't know. Is that true?
Recent review of existing research shows that all differences attributed to sex in the brain account for less than 1% of differences when you take into consideration the size of the brain.
So there are differences. That reminds me of the, what you just said, that reminds me of the pink tax. Why does the female razor cost more than the male razor when they're almost exactly the same? Almost exactly. Yeah, okay. Contradicts own point or argument in one sentence there. There's no differences except for the fact that there's a 1% or less than 1% difference.
And globally, male brains are larger than female brains.
There are no differences except for the fact that there are differences.
But this aligns with general physiological differences between male bodies and female bodies.
Oh, so there are two separate, distinct genders, you say? What is going on? Thank you, Chicago Mike. Abby Normal Brain. Was that a Young Frankenstein reference, by any chance? Or something to that effect? Anyway, okay, yeah, so there are male and female physiological differences between the genders, you say.
So it's true for other organs as well. The liver, the kidneys, the pancreas, all larger in male bodies.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, the size differences for those organs is larger than the size differences for the brain.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is that there is something called sexual dimorphism. That, on average, men's bodies end up being larger than female bodies. That's not to say that you can't have a woman who is larger than a man, but it's just not usual. You're not going to bring up the fact that there are some women who are taller than men and some men who are shorter than women on average and say that makes, what, a third biological sex, are you?
Which brings us to our next potential quicksand trap.
Uh-huh.
If sex isn't so simple, where do we even begin with gender?
Sex is very simple. There is male and there is female. Anything that would confuse the two is, as you called it, a DSD, which is a abnormality from the norm. That's what an abnormality is. You've lost your quicksand argument number one. I was struggling. I wasn't leaning into it because you're talking irrelevant or contradictory nonsense.
And it's tough, because what we've been told about sex forms the foundation for how we interpret and perceive gender.
It depends on what we're talking about. What are you talking about?
So if we've been taught about sex as a binary,
which it is, and you haven't disproven that,
of male and female,
which it is, and you haven't disproven that,
it sets us up to expect and believe that gender will follow.
What do you mean? Gender expression is different than just gender. How you choose to express yourself or be recognized one way or the other in society is still a binary. It's either male traits generally accepted or female traits generally accepted. It doesn't change the binary. If you try to confuse the two and become ambiguous or androgynous, all you're doing is trying to avoid the binary. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a binary.
And as humans, we are far more likely to pay attention to information that confirms an existing belief system. And then we use that as information or evidence to further that belief system.
Yeah, it's pretty much like your first quicksand example. You kept reaching and grasping desperately for examples that would prove to your belief system that gender is not a binary. You worked really hard to do it. And you didn't. And yet you're still promoting it. But okay.
Biomedical sciences, including genetics, endocrinology, neuroanatomy, holds that gender identity and expression, quote, likely reflects the complex interplay between biological, cultural, and environmental factors.
That may indeed be true. Uh-huh. I'm going to circle benevolent condescension. I've just gotten that vibe over the course of the deal so far. And also, all of those fields of study that you talked about, you have no schooling in and no degrees for. So, just saying.
End quote. It's just not as simple as one or the other. In fact, they're using the word mosaic to describe this.
Yes. What signals more masculine or feminine does change culture to culture. It's true. You know? Or situation to situation. That doesn't mean there is not a binary of sexual fact.
Take me, for example.
Take you, for example. You are a female. Okay. I just as a note, I rarely, right? Or I should say I do my best to avoid making the speaker themselves any kind of subject for criticism or critique unless they make themselves part of their own argument. Our speaker has just done this, so everything's fair game now.
I was assigned female at birth.
You are a female human being.
But I do not experience my gender to be female.
I don't know what that means, and I can't possibly know what that means because I'm not a mind reader. So whatever you think that means to you is whatever you have to think about yourself.
I also don't experience it to be exclusively male.
I would be very surprised if you did, since you are a female. But I experience it as male, experiences female. I suppose I've never really thought that hard and fast about how I express or experience my gender. I just am me, I guess. Experienced my gender. It's like, well, I go to the bathroom in a particular way that most women can't easily do so. And I don't know. I guess I'm just not that self-involved.
And my presentation leans masculine.
Okay. I will give you that. You have shorter hair. You have covered yourself in tattoos, which isn't necessarily masculine, but whatever. You're wearing jeans. I don't really detect any makeup. Yes, you are exhibiting and have presented yourself in a more masculine way than your average female would. That's perfectly fine. Doesn't say anything about you. I don't know anything about you as a result. You like dressing that way. Okay. And?
Right? And it's difficult. Binary thinking is something that's biased in our mind, right?
It's not a bias, it is reality. There are two genders. You have just described yourself as presenting yourself as more masculine. You are underscoring the binary in your own self-description. What are you talking about?
Humans, we have a predisposition to like things to nicely fit into their categories. It allows us to predict what will happen and know how to respond, right? So think in basic survival terms for a second.
What?
You come across a saber-toothed tiger.
Does the saber-toothed tiger have some kind of sexual expression or evolutionary thing? We were talking about fish before, and hyenas and elephants. So saber-toothed tiger, they're extinct, aren't they?
Safe or dangerous?
I'm assuming if I see a saber-toothed tiger, it's some kind of stuffed reproduction in a museum, so safe.
It's dangerous. Now run. It's exceptionally helpful, right?
Am I wrong? And a completely separate topic. Aren't saber-toothed tigers extinct? Am I wrong about that?
But what about cars? Safe or dangerous?
One is a living predator. The other is an inanimate object, unless there's someone behind the wheel and it's at speed. Okay. I am circling word salad, if not just for this little exchange, but in aggregate so far.
Yes. Some could argue there have been tons of advances in car safety. Everything from airbags to smart car detection of unwanted lane shifts, and in 2021, there were 42,915 deaths related to car accidents.
Argumentative non sequitur. If ever there was an example to be had, I think we just had it.
It's just not as simple as the binary suggests.
What is not as simple as the binary suggests? What are you talking about? You just distinguished yourself between male and female. Where is the third biological sex?
So now what? Well, now it's time for our trickiest quicksand trap of them all.
Okay.
Discomfort.
I thought the whole thing was discomfort. I thought quicksand in and of itself represented discomfort or something. Mixing and matching elements of the binary does not disprove the binary.
As we start to question what we've been taught, what we've learned, all this old programming, it can bring up a lot of confusion and uncertainty.
No. The only person here who is confused, seemingly, is you. Because you're trying to throw things at us meant to disprove an obvious fact, but it's all nonsense, and it doesn't disprove anything. You may have some internal confusion over how you feel about yourself. I can believe that. I think we've all experienced that in some way, shape, or form as we've grown up, trying to find out who we are, where we fit in the world, and so on. Yours seems to be, at least in this instance, very focused on one particular element of your makeup. And your confusion, I have empathy for. It can't be fun. But at the same time, it is your confusion. And a lot of it, indeed, may be self-chosen, not imposed upon you. I don't know where the line is between those two things, but your issues do not then make it my issue or anybody else's. And it certainly does not alter biological reality.
Two things our minds do not love, right? Can make us really uncomfortable. And when we feel that discomfort, it can make us want to revert back to what I've always done or what I've always known, right? But this is the struggle to get out of discomfort.
No, this is the struggle to try to accept your version of reality against all observable evidence. Okay? Trying to be talked into a quasi-scientific dogma outside of observable reality, yes, that does cause discomfort. Because it is obviously not correct. That is not evidence of its rightness. Sometimes discomfort is a sign that something is wrong, not that it is correct.
Remember your training. Lean in.
No.
Sometimes confusion is just an indicator that we're loosening our grip on the old, even if we don't quite know what the new is yet.
Tell you what. If you put observable, testable, empirical evidence in front of me, then I will consider your argument. That is effectively what I do in all of these presentations and anything that I've looked at. If somebody comes to me with an idea or an argument or a new perspective on something, I am here to entertain that idea, but not necessarily accepting of it. You have to give me a good argument. My ears are open, and so is my mind, but I'm not going to lean in without leaning back slightly, arms folded, in consideration first. Okay, that's called critical thinking. What you're asking me to do is to abandon my critical faculties and just accept your version of reality as truth. Because any resistance to that is a sign that I'm just thinking in those old ways. And I'm not willing to be open-minded or something. No, that's not how that works. All right, blind allegiance is not a desirable way to live.
And there's great news. As humans, we have an amazing capacity to learn, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. That's why I'm here. I want to learn something. You haven't taught me anything yet.
what were those numbers I told you to remember that you absolutely aren't looking at anything because you didn't write them down? You're only using your minds to recall? That's right. 1, 2, 3. Amazing job. Well done.
Boy, oh boy. The soft bigotry of low expectations, huh? Thanks, Sarah Chapman, for the marching lemon and lime. I haven't seen those guys in a long time. Lemon and lime. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Where do we go from here?
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to forget them.
Let me forget 1, 2, and 3. Okay. All of mathematics has fallen apart. The very nature of the world and everything has been shattered by your telling me to forget a reality. Okay, I'm there. There's no such thing as I don't even know what there's no such thing of any. What?
Just get rid of them. Just wipe them out. You can't. And even if you were like, yes, I can. And I said, okay, well, what were the numbers? And you're like 7, 8, and 9. What you first have to do is remind yourself of what numbers not to say. 1, 2, and 3, which is remembering. And that's just it. As humans, we are not reductive learners, right? So in other words, you can't get rid of something you've previously learned, but you can build new pathways of information and knowing.
Here's the thing. I didn't learn that there are two biological sexes. There are two biological sexes. Ah!
All right, so finish the sentence. Mary had a little
lamb.
I'm sure I didn't even have to get to had. And your mind was like, lamb, lamb. I know this one. It's lamb. They're not getting me on this. And you're right. It is lamb. So,
okay.
Again, well done.
Uh-huh.
But how many times do you think you heard that, saying that, read that? Countless times.
Yes. Countless times. Here's the thing, though. It doesn't have to be lamb. Right? It's not a fact of science. It's not a fact of reality that the word that has to follow after that is lamb. Right? There's no hard and fast rule. Whereas biological sex, there is.
Right. Now let's say you want Mary to have a hamster. How many times do you think you'd have to practice Mary had a little hamster in order to get hamster to show up when I ask that question? So many times.
Biological sex is not a habit. It is a fact of nature.
And even still, lamb will likely show up. So when you've known someone in the context of she, her for years, and then they share with you that their pronouns are they, them, we're not just going to be able to wipe out all that old learning.
No, it takes practice. It's true. It does take practice. Thank you again, Keeverdam. Pebbles! Yes! Oh, Pebbles! Pebbles, the emotional support hamster. Oh, Pebbles. R.I.P. Pebbles. Rest in power, Pebbles. Thank you, Keeverdam.
Right? It's still going to show up. And we're going to have to practice. Hear me when I say this. Practice they, them. Just like we would have to practice hamster.
Okay. A couple of examples. There have been several people in my life who have decided to make a change to the other gender. All right? For this, without naming names or anything, because obviously you wouldn't know them even if I said so. I had a friend, okay, several years ago, who I met and knew for about a year and a half as John. We'll just say John. And then, at one point, John went away for a while, and then when John came back, he no longer looked exactly like John anymore, and he said that his name was now Jane. Okay? And, you know, this was a grown adult. This was not some, you know, fad-based teenager or something. This is a grown adult who apparently had made a decision and had surgery and a whole bunch of other things that I don't even know. And they came back as Jane. And they asked everybody in our group to just please refer to me as Jane. And yeah, okay. It didn't change John's biological sex. It didn't change the fact that John used to be John, but then I've had people who've decided to go with their middle name versus their first name before, and it hasn't bothered me, so whatever. And since I knew John, and I liked John, and John was part of my social group, I got used to John being Jane. And then over time, referring to Jane as her just became reflexive. But that's because I know Jane. Right? And I don't want, and I have no interest or benefit in causing Jane any discomfort or anything. And she's a friend of mine. I have no advantage in going against somebody's wishes in that context. it doesn't change reality. It doesn't change the fact that Jane is John and Jane is a man. But whatever. It doesn't bother me. But I'm not obligated to start inquiring or trying to mess around with how to address people most times when they're not even around. Right? If I'm referring to he or her or something else, they're probably not in the room most of the time. All right. So you want me to call you something in between? No. If I ever refer to you again, oh speaker, or anybody else in that category, I'll refer to you as however I perceive you, and I perceive you as a female. You are a female. That's it. If you want to go around policing everybody's language about how they refer to you most of the time when you're not even around, that's your problem. And if you start policing people like that, I'm not going to bother. I mean, I don't know when I'd ever refer to you again anyway, but yeah. So yeah, pronouns, he or she. You can use they. I mean, they is proper grammar depending on the circumstances. Right. But that you're assigning yourself pronouns that I have to use when referring to you, nah. Not gonna bother. Not gonna bother. Unless I know you. Unless I care. Otherwise, nah. That's about as complicated as it is for me.
And you will make mistakes. Because when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're stressed out, that old stuff shows up and we fall back on old learning. It's just part of being human. And it's difficult to expand to make room for new.
Referring to you in the way that reflects reality is not a mistake. It's not a mistake. You know, I can alter such things as a courtesy to those whom I like or know personally, let's say. But in general terms, no, I'm not making a mistake if I call you she or her or whatever. It is literally true.
As humans, we are most comfortable with what we're most familiar with. And what we're most familiar with is lamb. So when we struggle to get out of that discomfort that shows up, we tend to revert back to that old learning, right? What I've always done. So you just think about making a mistake and you feel anxious and embarrassed and overwhelmed or any other uncomfortable emotion, and then you don't even try.
I've seen this before speaking of Jane again, this actually happened a couple of times where I was with a friend and they were telling a story or something about something that happened the previous weekend, and he referred to Jane as he, and then he like sputtered for a second and and he corrected himself, like, well, sorry, I mean she. And I'm like, who are you apologizing to? Like, what psychic or mystical damage has been done Jane by the fact that you referred to Jane as a he in this instance? Because Jane is a he, but whatever. Like, how is that a mistake? How is that something to feel sorry for or feel bad for? Like I said, most of the time they're not even around when you're using these words. So like some psychic wave's gonna go out and hurt their feelings or something. It's like, come on, give me a break.
Right, but this is where that training comes in so handy, right? See? Aren't you glad I taught you how to get out of quicksand? Lean in. Be uncomfortable.
No.
And then say they.
No.
And it's really hard, right? We all fall into quicksand. I'm standing up here giving this talk on gender, on how to get out of quicksand, and I will be the first one to tell you it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because almost it goes against everything that's observable about reality and everything else. Besides which, the easy thing is that if someone is, like, changed their life around and physically and otherwise presents themselves as one gender or the other, regardless of their biological reality, I might reflexively call them a he or a she. Just because, you know, if you go to that much effort, if you put yourself through that much whatever, I don't, whatever, you know. Again, it doesn't change reality, but it doesn't bother me to say something about someone that they're obviously working very hard to do or be or whatever. And it's like, okay. So like Blair White. I reflexively, I call Blair White a her. even though Blair White's a male, right? But I mean, I don't know. We live in a very confusing time, but it's about respect in a way, and not respect like respect my pronouns, but like respect for somebody who, that's just the way that they live. But I'm not going to burn in hell if I call Blair White a him. No one's going to come down on me for that, unless you are a word policing, virtue signaling crusader. And I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't know what to tell you. But you're not going to dictate to me the special words I am allowed to call you by. That's it. Yeah.
Right. I recently joined a gym, and I was really excited about this gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go in there for my first workout, crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone yells out, "Go, Courtney! This is her first workout." I was like, so kind, so supportive, and so assumptive.
It's not an assumption. You are female. Listen to yourself.
And I fell right into the quicksand. I didn't say anything.
Why would you? Someone's being nice and supportive to you, and they use the wrong pronoun. Oh, no. Boy, get over yourself. Gutenberg! What? I was just thinking about you the other day. Literally Hitler, Gutenberg is here. Dude, long time no see. For those of you that don't know, Gutenberg is like one of the founding members of our little YouTube social group back in the day. It was like Gutenberg and Monkey and Satsu and World from Ferg and Tailed Feature and Porco Dio. I haven't seen Porco in forever. You guys probably don't even know who Porco is. But Gutenberg, legend in my own time. Dude, I might be playing it up, but I'm absolutely serious. In fact, for Gutenberg, I'm going to play something special. How about how about this? That was Tailed Feature with his Dogcat Fox, Wowie Wow Wow. Good to see you, Gutenberg. I know you're not streaming anymore or anything. I don't think so. We got to have you on sometime. You got to come on and do like a TEDx with me or something. Have you visited Monkey lately? I know Monkey'd love to see you. Wow, Gutenberg. I feel blessed. That's a rare event. Nice to see you, dude. Hope you're doing good. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left in this thing. Sorry, where were we? I got all distracted by a legend showing up in the chat.
Workout. I was like, so kind, so supportive,
right,
and so assumptive.
It's not an assumption. It's a fact.
And I fell right into the quicksand.
Uh-huh.
I didn't say anything.
Why didn't you lean into it? Why didn't you lean into it? Did you lean into it? Is that the lesson here? You're just like, just go with it. Who cares?
I didn't want to embarrass the person by correcting them.
You would have only been embarrassing yourself.
I didn't want to feel embarrassed.
You already did feel embarrassed inside of yourself.
I didn't want to feel that weird energy shift where someone says something really nice to you, and then in response you correct them, and then they feel badly.
Yeah, but you wanted to, didn't you? You really, really wanted to. Otherwise, why would it be a problem?
I didn't want any of it, so I said nothing.
That was probably the best course of action, because it wasn't worth commenting on.
I just felt less excited and less comfortable in that space.
Well, you know what? That is a you problem. That is a pain self-chosen.
Then the next time I was in there, my incredible wife set me up in the most wonderful way. She said, is there a place where you can indicate pronouns, either in the app or here at the gym?
Oh, okay. So you needed your wife to do your standing up for yourself for you. I mean, if it was that important to you. Huh. Okay.
All I had to say was something like, that'd be great, because I use they, them. Instead, I fell right back into that quicksand. And I can't tell you how frustrated I was, how mad I was at me, but that's just it. That is the quicksand. that when we struggle to get out of that discomfort and then judge myself and talk rather unkindly to myself, the further and quicker I sink.
Yes, this entire talk really has been all about you.
So how can I take a breath, starfish into that discomfort, and simply say, they?
Wait, what? No. I think you got all mixed up here. If somebody says, hey, you go, Courtney, this is her first day here, you just let it roll off your back and get on with your day. Okay, or are you talking to me? I'll do my taxi driver impression. Are you talking to me that I have to say they because you can't be comfortable until I think the way that you think? Yeah, not gonna happen.
So here's the challenge for all of us.
No. It's not a challenge for me. It is an edict from you.
Right? If the binary is not as real as we've been taught,
it entirely is as real as we've been taught, and you've done nothing to disprove it here.
And if it's time for us to rethink the hypothesis on gender,
it is not time for us to rethink the hypothesis on gender? What?
Do the counterintuitive thing.
No.
Pause when that discomfort shows up.
No.
Lean in.
No.
Loosen your grip on what
No.
you've always done and what you've always known.
You ever hear about unlearning? Re-education? You know how insidious those things are and have been in history? Yeah, deny reality, think my way, or else there will be social or other consequences. Yeah, no. Not going to happen.
Take a breath.
No.
And simply ask.
I'll take a breath.
What pronouns do you use?
No. I am not going to inquire of people what pronouns they use. Not going to happen. If I know you, if it is relevant to something, if there's some demonstrable reason why I should, I might. But it's not going to happen reflexively, and I don't care to ask you. And if somebody asked me, I'd make a joke of it, because that's what it is. It's a joke. All right, well, there you go. That is the end of the presentation. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just get. I'm in the quicksand of having my intelligence insulted. That's my quicksand. The quicksand I call TED Excellence. Let's get into the bingo card. Where are we at on the bingo card? We probably have a lot of squares to circle. I was so caught up in the hubbub of it all. All right, so I'm going to go over the bingo card one more time by myself. If you guys have arguments for squares to be circled, please hold on to them until the end, and we'll see where we end up. Plays victim. Oh, yeah, at the gym. Oh, yeah. They called me by the wrong pronoun. Leaves out vital context. Any evidence that would back up your argument? I mean, if we're supposed to get beyond the binary, where is the third biological sex? Thank you, Poker Pierce. Hey, Scribe, what pronouns do you use, Lord? I generally go by Sir and Master. Generally speaking. But only with, one particular person at a time. Let's see. Anecdote that probably never happened. I can believe that somebody called her a her. Or her. So I can believe that happened. Was there any other anecdotes? I think that was that's the only anecdote she gave, the gym anecdote. Everything else was some weird animal example or something. So I can believe the gym thing happened. I don't have any reason to think that didn't happen. Self-vilification or wretchedness. I don't know there was any self-vilification here. Her talking about her discomfort and, well, no, let's see. She described, criticizing herself. I don't know, does that count? Because, I mean, anybody second-guessing themselves does not equate to self-vilification. When I think of self-vilification, for those of you that may be new here, I'm thinking about somebody who stands up on a stage and says, you know, as a straight white male, I am a problem when it comes to racial justice, or something like that, where they're making themselves the bad guy of their own talk. I didn't get that from this. You know, and having personal struggles does not necessarily mean you're vilifying yourself. So I could take an argument for it, but feminism. This is going to be a tough one. Feminism? Well, no, there is no feminism, and there's no patriarchy, because there's no binary, right? I don't know. Does feminism count in this? I'm not quite sure. Childhood or family anecdote? Well, no, she brought up her wife. Yeah, that's true. She brought up her wife. And that counts as a family anecdote, the wife at the gym and everything. So I'm going to circle that one. That is legit. Privilege. She didn't talk about privilege. I mean, she talked about the differences biologically, surprisingly enough, between males and females, but she didn't get into, like, male privilege, female privilege, things like that I can recall. Sales pitch for product or service. No, she didn't bring up a product or a book or a service or anything, no. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. Yes, unconscious bias insofar as gender and gender identification, gender expression, so on, yeah. Patriarchy, again, I'm not quite sure if that fits here. Wage gap, she never brought up economics in any way, shape, or form, so I don't think that fits. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Nothing she said was new to me. So, well, I mean, the quicksand, well, is the quicksand thing a buzzword or buzz phrase, or is that just a... I could be convinced on the quicksand thing, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. She never used the words. She never used the words, so I don't think so. Marginalize, marginalization. When it comes to the small percentage of people who are born, etc., and then, yeah, I mean, it was implied. It was implied that, you know, there was a marginalized type thing going on with people who don't clearly express one way or the other biologically or let's say, by dress. Let's see. Systemic, institutional. Well, she kept talking about fighting back against, let's say, common knowledge, right? And that we have to sort of rebel against that. So, yeah, I'm gonna. It's a bit of an abstract, a bit of an aggregate, but I'm gonna call systemic institutional there. White supremacy. She never talked about race, so it really doesn't apply. Collectivizes own demographic. What demographic does she fall into? Well, actually, can you really avoid collectivizing a demographic when you start talking about biological genders in the broad strokes? I don't think so. Yeah, so I'm going to circle that one. So, yeah. There we go. Oh, several possible bingos here. I'm going to need some good arguments, though. So, if you have arguments for squares yet to be circled, let me actually zoom in on this a little bit, make it a little bit more... Yeah, that works. One more. One more push upward. There we go. That works. All right, so if you have arguments for squares to be circled, please put them in the chat now. Be sure to tag me in those comments so I can see them a bit more quickly. Let's see. You're ridiculous, lunatic. Quicksand was a poor analogy. Yeah, I don't think it's a buzzword buzz phrase. It's just a... Yeah, it doesn't quite meet that threshold. Not being in sand or something privilege. Yeah. Let's see. Smudge. Damn, she's just barely avoiding bingos. Well, so far, I mean, like I said, there's a couple there that, depending on the argument, I could be convinced. Let's see. Lexi mad. She's going to be so mad if she ever comes across this video and reads the chat replay as well. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, she went to a women's college. Like, literally, it's in the name. Women's college. So, did she not belong there? Was that a lie? I don't know. Yvonne Sullivan, nah, she was too focused on vilifying everybody else. I mean, in a very sort of passive, friendly way, yes. The way you think is wrong, my way of thinking is correct. More or less. Darth Mando, anecdote. There is no proof it happened. It's believable, but unless receipts, it's anecdote, and these people tend to lie. But, okay, well, that's not the standard. The standard is, does someone give us an anecdote that is just too perfect, right? The classic example being, you know, my 5-year-old came to me yesterday and asked me, why does Donald Trump lean so heavily into foul language? It's very distressing to me as a new, or as a member of the young Democrat, something silly like that. You know, that kind of thing. I can believe that our speaker was at the gym and someone correctly referred to her as a her, and she felt discomfort. There's nothing about that seems too perfect, and actually is very apropos to the entire talk, where we're basically inside the mind of our speaker and her own discomforts and struggles to have people conform to how she wants the world to work, but doesn't, because it doesn't. But anyway. Smudge, I kind of think privilege could be circled, but I have no real argument for it. It felt like cis privilege was just under the surface of the whole talk. I could see where you're going. There might be an argument there. If you have one, you know, work it, and we'll see. Poker, aside from her giving up and her wife stepping into the pronoun mafia to the gym, I could see our speaker being not the one to confront, because the way she was talking about herself and her struggles and the way she was approaching it and trying to sort of gently convince the audience to her way of thinking, I could see not being the most assertive person in real life when something, you know, and that's not a judgment on her, like, in a negative way. A lot of people, myself included, like if I get into a very, you know, conflicting situation and I don't want to get into a conflict with someone or, you know, escalate anything, I might, and depending on how much it's worth getting into, I might step back, as it were, you know, because it's not worth my time most times. But in her case, it seemed like it should have been worth her time, but oh well. Flair Fritz, Smudge is right. That's an underlying theme with all these gender weirdos now. I don't know. I could see privilege. Okay, well, privilege is possibly the only bingo we might get, because everything else is fairly cut and dry. All right, give me a good argument for privilege out of what we saw. It has to be based on what we saw. Just saying it's kind of an undercurrent or something. I need something else, something from the talk that will nail that home. I think I might have thought of it myself just now, but if you can come up with something, I'll give you that. In the meantime, let me give you a programming note for the Sunday stream, which will be, if you can believe it, on Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't know what the subject will be yet, but that's when I'll do it. So there. Also, I did a She-Hulk episode 8 review today. It's the big Daredevil episode, everybody. Yay! How did that go? Yeah. One of those things where after I've done a review on something, I think of other things that I should have said or things I should have pointed out that I didn't. It's one of the pitfalls of doing things live, as good old Bill O'Reilly used to say. You have more time to reflect after the fact. I should probably go back to, like, scripting my reviews of things instead of doing them live, so I can consider them more. I might do that with whatever Marvel, Disney, whatever show I review next. I might go to a scripted format instead of the live ones. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Ebony Williams. No bingos. Well, there's hope. If someone can give me a good argument for privilege, we may have one. We may have one. And Folkenkund, my brain is broken, sawi squib. That's okay. I forgive you. I pardon you. Let's see. Yvonne Solomon. She doesn't have the privilege of not being uncomfortable when she is referred to by her body. you know, it's my show, and I agree. There was I'm getting the short end of the stick and everybody else isn't kind of thing. But I'll tell you, the part that pushed it over the edge was making me laugh. So thank you, Yvonne. You got it. You won. You win the day.
Bingo. What? Of course!
We have a bingo. One bingo. Close to several others. But still, the card is fairly well populated with circles. And I'm actually kind of surprised at the number of circles we had, since it was a very one-subject, one-track presentation. I mean, it remained relatively focused up until we had, like, car crash statistics or fish changing genders because of biological or evolutionary necessity. But aside from that, yeah, it was a very focused talk. Was it convincing? No. Was it anything I hadn't heard before? The quicksand analogy was a new one, but that wasn't specifically just for questions of gender or the gender binary. That was just don't ask, just listen. Don't question, just believe. That's just a new analogy for don't think critically, just, if you sit in that discomfort. You need to sit in that discomfort. When someone tells you that you've committed a microaggression, don't get defensive. Don't fight back. Don't walk away. You need to sit in that discomfort. That's all that was. That's all that was. A new way of saying the same thing. Thank you, fucking cunt, super sticker. Oh, so that's a super sticker. Bravo, Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, Dogcat Fox. That's the Sinatra Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much. Kunt. I say it that way on the off chance the YouTube algorithm won't catch me saying a naughty word. I don't know if it'll work or not, but hey, we'll see. Either way, oh yes, never forget the saber-toothed tigers. Yeah. Seriously, if you see a saber-toothed tiger in the wild, run. Otherwise, I think we're all pretty much safe. Either way, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this enlightening, brand new argument method towards convincing me not to accept reality. I hope you enjoyed it for what it was. Let's see. Again, Sunday stream, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Oh, that's what I wanted to remind you of. Tomorrow, Friday, at 10 a.m. Pacific time, noon Central. What is that? Let's see, 9 to 10, 11, 12. 10 to 11, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's what it was. So 10, 12, and 1. Over on Christopher Moonlight's channel. Okay, you have to look this up. Christopher Moonlight. Let me find the link real quick, just so I can help out with that. Actually, I think I have the stream link here somewhere, relatively convenient, don't I? Somewhere. Sorry. Let me get this, because I had this before and it's important. I want, if you can show, if you like comic books, this is something to show up to. That's not it. Where is it? Dang it. Okay, well, I will find it here in a second. But, oh, come on, I tweeted this out just the other day. It's gotta be here. Are you kidding me right now? You're killing me, Smalls. If you guys got that reference, you're also pretty cool. There it is. Okay, Christopher Moonlight live stream. Let me bring this up real quick. All right, over on the Christopher Moonlight Productions YouTube page. Link is in the description. Tomorrow at noon Central Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, will be a part 2 of a talk that Christopher Moonlight and I are having with Peter Simeti. Peter Simeti, who is, I believe, if I'm not off, the founder of Alterna Comics. We're going to be talking about the comic book industry, comic books in general, and all types of stuff. So, if you are available tomorrow at that time, you will find me there talking about comic books, something that I love, and I don't generally talk about very directly much, except in reference to like Marvel shows and things. But also with somebody who actually works in the industry and makes his own comic books. It's great. So, Be there tomorrow if you can, and if you can't, check it out when you're able. And either way, everybody, thank you for joining me. Moderators, thanks for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated, either to myself or to those GoFundMes pinned to the top of the chat box, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. For those of you who have participated in the poll of whether I should start a membership of the channel, thank you for doing so. I will take your vote very seriously. And like I said, I'm on the fence, just kind of like, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. But otherwise, everyone, hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you are all having a good rest of your Thursday, rest of your week, a good weekend ahead of you. I hope you are all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.